Welcome to Prime Life. We call it Retirement 2.0. Leave each episode with tips and new ideas to help you navigate retirement in our new age. It's your time. Make it count.
This podcast is for educational purposes only. It is not intended as medical, investment, or financial advice. We do not sponsor or endorse any of the individuals, companies, products, or services featured on this podcast. Any statements or opinions expressed are of the individual who makes them. We hope you enjoy the episode.
Hi, and welcome to the Prime Life podcast. I'm Mary Crean. I'm Director of Digital Marketing at Nassau Financial Group, and I'm joined by my co-host, Laura Dinan Haber, AVP of Innovation, also at Nassau, where we explore the ideas and innovation shaping the future of longevity. For many women, life and financial planning isn't linear. Caregiving, career pauses, divorce, widowhood, and longer life expectancy often mean managing finances independently later in life. Today, we'll explore how the industry can better reflect real-life journeys and how innovation, including AI, can help maintain continuity through these transitions. I'm pleased to welcome Tina Beckwith. She's the Chief Marketing Officer at LIMRA LOMA. Tina brings deep industry perspective through her work at LIMRA and her leadership of the Lifetime Income Initiative. She has spent her career focused on how retirement systems, protected income, and advisor practices can better serve across all stages of life, especially during moments of transition. Tina, welcome to Prime Life Podcast.
Thank you for having me.
I'm very excited to introduce Neeraja Rasmussen. We've known Neeraja since, I think 2019 now, and she's been on a number of our podcasts a few different times. So to have you on Prime Life is a very exciting moment for us. The founder and CEO of Spyglaz AI, Neeraja leads the development of an applied AI platform built for industries that rely on agents and financial professionals for revenue growth. She brings over 25 years of experience across digital transformation, customer growth, and sales enablement. Neeraja, welcome back to the podcast. We're so glad you're here with us today.
Thank you so much, Laura. I'm so happy to be here today and looking forward to this great discussion.
So, Tina, when it comes to protective lifetime income, what are women getting right? And where is the industry still missing the mark?
Well, it can be very challenging for women where they have career paths that tend to be very different than men. And they're very eager and interested in the financial planning that goes along with retirement planning. At the same time, the industry tends to miss the mark in terms of how they approach women, right? The systems assume that women have 40-plus year careers that are uninterrupted. It doesn't turn out that way for women often, though. When they have responsibilities for children, aging parents, they tend to earn less over their careers and still live longer. So there's an opportunity for the industry to really think about the products and how we deliver them in a way that really resonates with women and their journeys.
Neeraja, I'd love for you to jump in on the same question here. You have industry experience and with the work that you're doing and what you're building. What are you seeing from your perspective and where the industry is still missing the mark?
Laura, that's a great question. And one of the areas where I think the industry is really missing the mark is this whole premise that women are disengaged from financial planning and are not as engaged as men. And if we really step back and look at, the statistics, we see that women's retirement outcomes lag behind men, and women retire with less money than men do. And women get about 30% less retirement income than men. Many of us step away from paid work for caregiving, taking care of children, aging relatives, and that impacts our lifetime income by hundreds of thousands of dollars. We also know that after widowhood, a majority of women terminate their relationship with their financial advisors. And I think the perception is this is all happening because of disengagement. And it really isn't. It's happening because of these structural factors and these life events, and it's not anything that's really behavioral. So I think one of the big opportunities for tools, technologies, AI specifically, is to normalize normalize the real way that women actually live their lives in a way that is going to improve their retirement outcomes.
So, Tina, we're going to go over to you again. Where do you see the biggest structural gaps in how firms support women through their nonlinear career paths?
Well, we know that only about 67% of women feel really confident about getting to their desired retirement lifestyle. And that's much less than the 76% of men who feel the same way. And while firms are really trying to recruit more women, the systems, again, just aren't designed for their career paths that really aren't linear. Women live longer, they earn less, and they leave the workforce more often due to those caregiving responsibilities that we talked about, which ultimately means that their Social Security is lower, their retirement savings are lower, and they're really at a much greater risk of outliving their savings. Making annuities and protected lifetime income more relevant really gets to designing the guidance around people's lives and how they live them.
Yeah, it's an interesting, comment in designing around people actually live lives, right? If we look at the last, say, 5, 6 years with everything that's been going on within society, we have a pandemic, people may have shifted how they live, right? How they work, where they work, how they engage, how they disengage, or how they're working on re-engagement. And I think that that's something that I want to rewind and step back into. When we talk about the transitions, and sometimes it's caregiving, and then there's other realities that take place, the assumption is that women may disengage. And when there's a disengagement event, there's something that potentially brings them back. Neeraja, your thoughts, and Tina, feel free as well, during some of those major life transitions, what could bring someone back into engagement within the financial, I'll say, circuit, whether it's with the planner or other systems as they're currently aligned?
Laura, I think it's all driven by how women live their lives and how, we experience these different life events, and kind of the irony of what caused the disengagement, which is the life events, is also what tends to bring women back into the financial planning process. So some examples I can think of are return to work, getting an inheritance, widowhood, planning for retirement. So women have, just as they have these life events that causes them to disengage, they also have these inflection points where they're forced to re-engage because they've been confronted with some sort of financial reality that they need to deal with. So I think it sort of emphasizes the case for really understanding how women live their lives, how it's nonlinear, what these life events are, and then building the products, tools, technologies, systems, and processes that can support them more effectively.
Tina, you lead the Lifetime Income Initiative. How are you thinking about making annuities and protective income more relevant during these transitions, like caregiving, divorce, or widowhood that Neeraja was alluding to?
Yeah, as we talk about it, those are moments in life that really women become very financially vulnerable. And we're focused on making annuities and how they help provide protected lifetime income more relevant, right? We think about storytelling, using research back insights, and providing some educational content that truly is accessible. The work we're doing is grounded in all these realities that women face, especially those in Gen X, from the caregiving breaks to those unexpected life events. They create gaps in retirement savings and women's confidence. So we're working to educate women on how solutions like annuities can fit into their life pauses and some of those unexpected responsibilities. For financial professionals, we're focused on enhancing training and offering those research-backed insights to advance their conversations and help bridge some of the understanding gaps that exist between their clients and their understanding of annuities. We're trying to make those conversations more clear and attuned to the realities that women are navigating so that they can become more financially secure and confident in their retirement. Lastly, I'll mention that we have a partnership with Jean Chatsky of Her Money Media, and she's doing a monthly podcast on consumer conversations around retirement readiness. And she shares really practical tips and real world conversations, really based in real life. So the relevance of the content and education is where we're focused to help women overcome some of these inflection points that they experience.
.com. Nassau insurance products are issued by Nassau Life and Annuity Company of Hartford, Connecticut, Nassau Life Insurance Company, East Greenbush, New York, or Nassau Life Insurance Company of Kansas, Overland Park, Kansas. Subsidiaries of Nassau Financial Group. Products are not available in all areas. Yeah, I think it can be very intimidating, if you will, if you don't understand certain products and how they can bridge the gap or help you in some of those transitions that you mentioned. So I completely agree with that.
Yeah, I'm going to take a look into the future. So enablement and AI. So looking at potentially how AI could or could not continuously support continuity within this conversation. So Neeraja, let's dream big dreams. If we were going to design a financial system
Yeah.
around real life stages for real life people and real life women with real life interruptions or maybe not, instead of these idealized timelines, what needs to change first?
So the very first thing that needs to change is this assumption that, we all live these linear lives with uninterrupted income and, no career breaks. And I think one of the great um, possibilities or things that AI makes possible is that it would have the ability to understand the nuance of women's nonlinear existence and be able to anticipate those life events, but also understand that those are expected and an expected part of a woman's income trajectory rather than some sort of an exception or an anomaly, which I think will go a long way towards sort of improving retirement outcomes for women. The other very promising aspect of recent developments in AI, particularly agentic AI, is that it has the ability to maintain context over long time horizons. So there's longitudinal context over time, not just what's happening this year, what happened 5 years ago, what's going to happen 10 years in the future. And I'd love to share this very personal example from my life when I think about AI and its capabilities in this space, which is when I was expecting my daughter. And I live in California, and that's where she was born. And California has one of the most generous maternity leave systems in the US. So I was able to combine, the time the state gives you for a C-section, which is 8 weeks, and pregnancy disability with family leave with the additional perks that I got from my employer. And I actually got about 5 months with 90% of my income covered, which is significant. And at that time, I also realized that we have no family close by. My husband and I don't, there's no grandma you can call to come help out. So I went to my financial advisor at the time and I said, I'm going to have to make some withdrawals because I need to plan for childcare. And what he helped me do is I had a portfolio that was very focused on equities. And he took some of that equity focused portfolio and moved it into bonds. And he did this in a staggered way based on my expected withdrawals for childcare on a monthly basis. And what that did was that reduced my exposure to market volatility and those short-term market swings. And I came out of it in much better shape than I would have if I just randomly been, taking money out. So when I think about how often does this happen for women, how often I proactively went to my advisor and said, can you help me out? But the other missing piece was the money that gets covered by these maternity leave benefits. And I think, with AI, we're in a position to do what annuity companies do with Social Security. So, for instance, they don't just look at what's your retirement income, what are your needs, but they also try and help retirees optimize Social Security and make those withdrawals at the right time. So I see this major life event that many women go through, which is having a baby. There's a whole opportunity for AI to come in and look at what do you get, what's covered by, how much of your income is covered by your maternity leave benefits, what the state gives you, what your employer might give you, what do you need additionally for childcare, and then how do we sort of make those withdrawals in a way that minimizes your exposure to market factors. I went to my advisor. What if someone doesn't go to their advisor? What if 53% of women owned assets are not managed? What if you don't have an advisor? And so I think this is one of the great opportunities for AI to sort of normalize that type of planning as part of the planning process. And it also takes the onus off the advisor. They can get some help in terms of having these, systems that understand maternity leave, what's offered by state, by company, and
Right.
sort of bring that all into the planning process.
Yeah. Tina, I think that's a really great segue into our next question for you. If advisors could make one meaningful shift tomorrow in how they approach women in retirement income planning, what would that be?
As I heard Neeraja talking, that is the perfect example of where every retirement income conversation needs to start with understanding a woman's unique situation, risks, and let's just say dreams, right? And what do they want to accomplish? And by understanding a woman's reality, you can get a better sense of her goals and priorities. Is she concerned about caregiving, healthcare costs, or something else? And with that understanding, it builds trust. And that will lead to deeper, more meaningful conversations and really thoughtful planning so that individuals can have that predictable income and give them the security that they can kind of manage and navigate through some of those shocks, financial shocks that might come later in life.
Yeah. And I think in general, financial planning is such an individual decision, right? And so I think there are many great examples, right? When we think each one of us thinks of ourselves. I have 2 grown adults. That was a long time ago. Neeraja, I think I got less than a month off. Of course, I was self-employed, but having, like the saying goes, you don't know what you don't know.
Mhm.
And Tina and Neeraja, you both have suggested, it's that trust factor, being able, like Neeraja, you said, well, what if I didn't know enough to go to my advisor? Again, I think sometimes there's a little bit of fear of the unknown and not being super comfortable with maybe if you do have a financial advisor, how well do they really know you? So I think that, we're talking about how AI can help, certainly looking backward and then forward, but also give women perhaps some tips that they can use so that they do feel confident to share their life and what their dreams are, as you said, Tina, which I really love that you brought that term of dreams. I think that's so important because it's not just taking care of ourselves, living our real daily lives, but what can we dream that we want to do? And maybe we haven't done that yet. And there's plenty of time for that, right?
I think it's also about education, not only for the women today, but for the women tomorrow. Those who are still girls, who are younger, who are coming up. I have a daughter, and I would love for her to walk into, her older life, knowing things that could help her. Your example, I absolutely would not have thought of that. And I consider myself someone who isn't within the space, educated. I read about this. I speak about, I didn't know. Right. And there's a lot of things that we do know, and there's a lot of things that we don't know. And that having conversations and forums such as this, Tina, you mentioned the podcast that you all support, and we'll link that in the show notes. Also, it's the sharing of not only the personal stories and the knowledge to make people comfortable and feel that trust and share those back and forth learnings, but also looking ahead to the education system. I know in certain states, there's been more of a push on financial literacy. What does that look like? what tools are in there. Does that education need to be updated? Is that looking in a linear fashion, or is it even going that deep? So for each of us, if we're listening and we're thinking this has been so helpful, or I want to know more, or I have additional great resources that I'd love to share, we invite you to comment on the post on LinkedIn, message us, share those things, and we can keep that conversation going, because it's going to take a community of individuals to help others rise up and become educated in all sources. I personally have appreciated the conversation today and acknowledging the work that everyone is doing within the space. If we can all make one motion to move that forward for the next generation, the impact there would be pretty phenomenal.
No, Laura, those are some great points and great insights, and I definitely agree. And I think, the women behind us, daughter who's in her 30s and she has a son, she has a career that she is quickly moving about, and that brings me great joy. She's a strong woman, but understanding that it's always good to educate yourself and to share that information with others around you. Most importantly, don't be afraid to share that information, because again, you could really help someone in a significant way, more than we realize. So as we come to the end of our conversation during Women's History Month, what message do you think the industry most needs to hear about advancing women's financial well-being? Tina, I'm going to hit it over to you.
It's a great question. And I couldn't agree with you more that we need to keep talking so that we share the information and knowledge, because as women take a more active role in their own retirement futures, they are seeking financial professionals who will listen first and communicate really thoughtfully about how they can chart their path forward, marching towards those long-term goals, right? And it includes understanding how tools like annuities can create protected lifetime income and provide that foundation of financial stability. Financial professionals have a real opportunity to give women this knowledge and clarity that they need to build that confidence and really a more secure retirement.
Neeraja, final thoughts?
Final thoughts. Women's History Month, reflecting on a couple different things. One is looking back. Women haven't really been fully participating in as consumers of financial services for more than about 50 years. I mean, it wasn't until 1975 that we could have credit cards, get credit cards, and get a home loan on their own. So you think about how old the financial services industry is, particularly insurance. We haven't been participants for very long. Considering all of that, we have come an incredibly long way, because looking into the future, and this is actually from a recent McKinsey study, women are projected to control 34 trillion in financial assets by 2030, which means that women are going to control close to 40% of US assets in less than 5 years, making them one of the biggest, fastest growing consumer segments in financial services. And there's another statistic in the same study that 53% of women's assets are not managed. So if you think about women owning 34 trillion, that's 18 trillion in women owned assets that could potentially just be sitting in low yield cash accounts, earning close to nothing. So it's the size of this opportunity for the industry is no longer debatable or dismissible. It is a very big opportunity. And I would say that the firms, the carriers, the wealth managers, the asset management firms that invest in two things. One is the tools and technologies that normalize, acknowledge, and anticipate and serve these life stages, deploying those tools and technologies, and the firms that also invest in education and training for the financial professionals, the advisors, the agents, and their networks to have empathy and understanding for these life stages that women go through. I think those are the firms that are going to win that 34 trillion.
Couldn't agree more with that. Neeraja, if anyone wants to get in touch with you, what's the best way? And then I'm going to have Tina share that as well.
Feel free to email me, first name dot last name, Neeraja.Rasmussen at Spyglaz, SBYGLAZ.com. I'd love to hear from you. This is a topic that's close to my heart, and something that, within my company, we're having a lot of conversations about how we can build in women-specific segmentation into the platform we already have. So I'd love to hear from you and continue the conversation offline.
Thank you. Tina, how about you?
So I'll invite anyone to connect with me on LinkedIn. My name, Tina Beckwith, and I'm with LIMRA and LOMA as the Chief Marketing Officer. So please reach out.
We really appreciate such a thoughtful and forward-looking conversation. While timely, so timely during Women's History Month, the ideas shared today extend well beyond this moment. Designing financial systems around real life, I think, as we've said, rather than idealized timelines, it's central to long-term confidence. Tina, you mentioned that quite a bit today, and financial peace of mind, which we'd all love. Thank you both for joining us on the Prime Life podcast, and we look forward to continuing this conversation. We look forward to having you both on again soon. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Remember to subscribe to the Prime Life podcast anywhere you find podcasts. You can find all of our episodes, contact information, and more on our website, primelifepodcast.com. Stay connected with us. Follow us on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok.